Emperor Shen Nung discovered it nearly 5,000 years ago. The Chinese call it cha, or tea. Now people drink it all over the world. In Britain, it is the most popular drink. We use 12,000 million litres of water every year to make it. And the average British person drinks 3.5 cups per day, usually with milk, and sometimes with sugar. Which do you prefer, tea or coffee?
Tea.
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 How many cups of tea do you drink a day?
About 4, I would think.
About 10.
I would say about 12 on average, yeah.
About 4 cups a day.
About 10.
I like a nice cup of tea in the morning, for to start the day, you see. And at 11:30, well, my idea of heaven is a nice cup of tea. I like a nice cup of tea with me dinner, and a nice cup of tea with me tea. And when it's time for bed, there's a lot to be said for a nice cup of tea.
We make tea from this, the dried leaves of a plant called Camellia sinensis. It grows naturally in China and India. The biggest tea exporters are Sri Lanka, India, China, and Kenya. They produce about 70% of the world's tea. But when did tea first come from the east to the west? In the 17th century, sailing ships from Europe traveled all over the world. In 1610, a Dutch ship brought a small box of tea from China to Holland. 40 years later, in 1650, tea arrived in Britain. Samuel Pepys, who lived in London at that time, wrote in his diary on Sunday the 25th of September, 1660.
I tried a cup of tea, a China drink, of which I never drank before.
Tea became very popular. In the 19th century, the Americans designed a new type of ship to bring tea from China to the West. These ships were called tea clippers, and they were the fastest ships in the world. This is the Cutty Sark, the most famous British tea clipper. It was built in 1869. In the early 1800s, the Duchess of Bedford started the tradition of afternoon tea. She thought she'd like to have something between lunch and dinner. A cup of tea, and something to eat. Fortunately, at about the same time, the Earl of Sandwich had a good idea. He put a filling between 2 pieces of bread and gave it his name. Afternoon tea quickly became a very fashionable new custom. When do you drink your tea?
Mostly morning and evening.
Morning, afternoon, and before going to bed.
All the time. I work in an office, so we're always drinking tea all through the day.
In the morning, dinner times, tea time, in the evening, before I go to bed.
Throughout the day, really. Mostly in the morning.
In most factories and offices in Britain, people stop work for a few minutes in the middle of the morning and in the middle of the afternoon to have a cup of tea and maybe a biscuit. This is called a tea break, a tradition that started about 200 years ago. In the last century, some employers tried to stop the tea break. They said it made the workers lazy. But it was too late, and today millions of people look forward to their tea breaks every day. People drink more tea in Britain than in any other country. The average person drinks 1,355 cups per year. Next is Ireland, then New Zealand, Turkey, and Australia. In the rest of Europe, they prefer to drink coffee.